Briana Dinsdale is a singer-songwriter from Southeast Queensland who is a recent graduate of the Academy of Country Music and who released her debut album Beginnings in 2021. Since then, she has released some irresistible country pop songs, including last year's Chasing Boys. Her latest single is Whiskey Worked That Way. So I'm going to ask her some questions about that. Hello, Briana.
Hi, Sophie. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And I think you might have a top on from a particular Queensland artist. Would you like to tell us about it?
Yes, repping my Tori Forsyth merch. I think I am one of her biggest fans on the planet. I say that about a lot of people though, but I genuinely am one of her biggest fans. She's
Did you
amazing.
did you go and see her recently? Because I think she's just played on the Sunshine Coast, maybe.
Yes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
went up to that. Oh, mind blowing. So good.
And I saw her in Newcastle in New South Wales. So yes, I can agree. She is mind blowing. But we're here to talk about you and still on the subject of fandom, though. I saw on your socials that you did in fact go to a Taylor Swift concert. Was Taylor everything you hoped for?
Oh, always. Yeah. That was my third time seeing her live. I'm very, very grateful that I've seen her that many times. Saw her first time for the Red Tour, then 1989 tour, and now the Eras Tour. And she just never misses. She is such an entertainer, such a performer. I don't understand how she did a 3 hour show and sounded like that the whole time, but we were in awe. All four of us, my whole family went, and we were a few rows back from the front of the stage, and it was just captivating, amazing.
So I would imagine quite a different experience from the Red Tour when she was famous, but not quite as famous.
Yeah. It's the biggest show I've ever been to in the sense of how many people were there as well. We were actually a bit scared we were going to get rained out because there was a huge rainstorm that came through. And of course, it's an outdoor stadium. And we had to wait outside probably, I want to say, 90 minutes. We were
Oh.
outside. Sabrina Carpenter, who was the opener, had to miss her set, but she came back from a surprise song later. But it was just scary. I was like, I really hope this doesn't get rained out. I know Taylor will play in the rain, but it's whether or not like the venue allows us to stand in the rain and the thunder and the lightning. So, but we made it and we saw the whole show. Thank God.
Have you ever had to play outside in the rain?
Yeah, yeah. We played in the rain. Been lucky that we've been undercover for most of it, but you still get hit with the rain. Like on New Year's Eve, I did a gig with my best friend Tyler Rodriguez for New Year's Eve, and it was mud and rain and everything, but we survived. It was just, I was like, this is a lot to handle, but also a lot of fun, but also I'm playing a really expensive keyboard right now. It was like a lot of emotions, but overall really fun.
I would also think there are considerations like I may slip on stage because I may not be wearing shoes that are appropriate for a wet surface.
Yeah.
Clothes might start clinging to me in a way that I don't really appreciate, and my hair's going to get plastered to my head, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. We weren't looking very pretty by the end of it, but it was a heap of fun. That's all that matters. And the boots were muddy and squelchy, and it was a rough night's sleep and a rough night to get out of it the next morning. It was all
Right.
muddy.
Is that one of the wildest gigs you've ever played in terms of weather or location?
I mean, it was really fun. The weather was wild. I think the gig was totally, totally amazing. I feel like it was up there though. I've had some pretty weird gigs, but that one was just fun, I think.
Now, back on the subject of Taylor, I do have to ask you what your favourite songs of Tortured Poets are, because that is the Swifty question of the moment.
Good question. I'd say there's so many. I love So Long London for the lyrics, But Daddy, I Love Him
Mhm.
for the context and the just, it's such a good hook and I just get into it. I'm like, yes. But honestly, there's so many. Yeah. I think it's a great album.
Yeah, I completely agree. I presume you mean the anthology, like the all 31 songs. Yeah.
You're onto it, Sophie.
Yeah. Oh no, I've been listening as well. I too like the Taylor Swift. Is there any other music you've been listening to that you could recommend?
Oh, so much. Lauren Watkins is one of my favorites right now. She's a new one coming out of Nashville. She has a new album. I believe it's June 21st it comes out. But the singles off that album are phenomenal. Like seriously so good. She's on tour with Morgan Wallen right now in the States, and I think she's finally getting the credit she deserves from fans, and her music is so good. I listen to her songs every single day.
Now you have mentioned Nashville, which is very neat for me because my next question is about Nashville. Because last year, if I was counting back the weeks on your social media, I think it must have been last year that you actually ventured to Nashville, and there was evidence that you had been in a recording studio. And we now have this single, Whiskey Worked That Way, which was produced by Michael and Caleb Flanders in Nashville. So I'm guessing that's one of the things you worked on while you were there.
Yes, yeah, we were there in December for a week in Nashville, but in America for about 4.5 weeks. My mum's from California, so we spent most of our time there with family. But my parents are amazing. We all went over, the four of us, to Nashville for a week and like basically just grinded to get some music recorded, written, everything. And it was a blast. Michael and Caleb co-produced 3 tracks, so I've got a few more coming soon, which I'm excited about as well. Whiskey was the first one, obviously. And yeah, it was a dream come true. It was my second time to Nashville, but my first time to Nashville with this kind of mindset. The first time I went, I was 9 years old, and it was like my wake up call, like, yeah, this is the town for me.
Mhm.
And then I got to go back when I had just turned 20, so literally 10 years later. And it was, yeah, a dream, a place I want to go to whenever I can. I have so much FOMO of all the Aussies there right now for CMA Fest. So much FOMO. It's on my list to go next year because I'll be 21 and I can have the full experience.
So I love the fact that it was when you were 9 that you went there and thought, yes, this is the town for me, because most of us at 9 do not have that clarity of vision about what we might want to do when we grow up. So you clearly, though, had the intention to be a musician. Or was it a musician? Was it a songwriter at that age? Did you have a sense actually of which part of it you liked?
Songwriter was my number one thing. I really, since I was a little girl, my number one thing has always been songwriting. I'm such a nerd for songwriting. Every song that I listen to, I like go to the song credits on Spotify and see who wrote it. I'm that person, but I'm proud of it. Songwriting, yeah, the number one thing from Nashville. And we went to the Opry when I was 9 there. The Ryman, actually. We went to the original Ryman
Mhm.
and saw a Opry style show. So there was a lot of different artists. And that was really, really eye-opening and kind of very pivotal for me. And I was always around amazing music. Mum and dad educated us well, especially on that trip. We did a trip of the South when we were there. So many amazing musicians we listened to both live and like on CDs. So I think it was a very educational and eye-opening trip for me.
Mhm. So in order to make what happened with you in town, not town, with Nashville this time happen, obviously a lot of planning because you're going over there with the intention to record. And I would imagine a lot of choice that, to find the right producers to work with, because there would be quite a few there. So how did you end up choosing the Flanders?
Great question. It's definitely tough when you're going into a foreign town to find the right people for you, and you might not blend well with them, and it's a risk. But I'm very lucky that 2 of my band members are a father-son duo, Jackson and David, and they're very, very close family friends with the Flanders. And Jackson, who's also my best mate, said to me, he was like, if you're going to Nashville, you're recording with Michael Flanders, and if you don't, I'm not being your friend anymore. Like, I didn't know he was kidding, I think. But I was like, okay, he must be really good, because Jackson is one of those people who knows what is good and what is mediocre and what's not so good within music. And so when he says something is really good, I trust his word. And I had heard about Michael and I had heard some of his stuff, and we jumped on a Zoom call with him. And basically, that Zoom call went for like 2.5 hours, I think. And we just chatted with me and my dad and Michael. And I was like, yeah, I want to record with Michael. And best decision I've ever made. I don't think I could ever record with another producer again. And Caleb, his son, is just going to just soar through the industry over there. I think he's 20 or 21, so he's super young and he's just got so much to go for him.
So you mentioned that there was some writing was going on there at the same time. Does that mean that Whiskey Worked That Way was not completely written when you went over there?
I think the bones of the song were completely there, but it was so amazing to see the musicians take their take on it. So the structure was all there. I'd played it with the band a bunch, but then went in and had all these incredible Nashville session musos play on it, and just the drummer got it in one take.
Right.
And he was up and out and getting a coffee because he just nailed it. And it was like the most perfect take too. I was like, oh, sublime. And it was so cool to see how they put their twist on it. Yeah.
Where did the idea for the song come from?
I was in a co-write room with Robbie Mortimer, Styler and Jen Mize, who are all incredible people, incredible musicians, incredible songwriters. And I was just like, right, okay, I've got an idea. It's going to work for this group. And I was like, we need to play on the idea of like, people drink all the time, right? It's big in country music. It's big in general, especially in Australia. Like, people just love to drink and have a good time. And I'd never had a drinking song for me yet. And I was like, we need to create this concept surrounding the idea of alcohol and making some decisions you never really thought you would make. And put them together, and this song kind of came out of it. And yeah, it was really, really fun. Yeah, it was the best co-write I've had in a long time, and I can still say that to this day. It was really fun.
Well, that is a powerhouse group to be in one room together. How did that happen?
We were at a songwriting camp here in Brisbane, which was lovely, run by an incredible man named Gavin Carfoot, who is one of the best songwriters I know and an incredible rock in this industry, both as a human and as a songwriter.
So have you had any other co-writes spring out from that, or from within that group? Do you keep in contact and perhaps continue to write together? Or is it just like you're there in the room, it's this moment in time, and then we move on?
That was definitely the one-off co-write. We got that in 2 hours, but I think we all want to write again, the four of us. So I think we're going to make it happen. It was just such a natural co-write and so much fun. And we all have such different ideas because we all come from kind of subgenres of country music that are so opposite. Robbie's very trendy pop country, Chloe's very indie pop country. I think I'm plain old country, and then Jen Mize is the blues, alt side of country. And so putting all of that together to create this song was just mind baffling how it just worked out.
And as I've remarked before when I've chatted to you about your songs, part of what I love about your songs is there is a different angle on things that comes in. It was there in your album as well. It's on the surface of it, in terms of the musical style, you think, oh yeah, I think I know where this is going. But lyrically, we never do. Basically, your songs, there's always some surprise that makes me think, oh, that's so interesting. So I think it's partly, what you as an artist bring to the genre is that it's just this different take on life, this different way of writing your songs as well. And the video you put together for this song, I thought also was an interesting way of doing it, because it actually positions you as the performer and being should we say, pursued by the bartender. Which, I was thinking, I often don't see that in music videos where there's a female artist who is the center of attention like that. So did you enjoy working on that video?
It was a very fun video to create. I had a really, really good friend of mine, Sean O'Brien, direct it. We go to university together, and he's an incredible mind when it comes to being creative. And I was like, Sean, I have this idea for a video and I really want you to direct it. And he was like, okay. He hadn't even heard the song yet. And he was like, okay, I'm in. I'm like, you haven't even heard the concept? You haven't heard the song? Sweet. Sounds good to me. It was the most incredible night. I had all my best friends there as extras. A lovely guy named Bruno there. He played the lead. And I kind of had this concept for the video. Well, yeah, I wanted it to be a bit risky in the sense of, the last projects I did, I was still a teenager, I was still young, but I really wanted this song especially to come out and be like, oh, she's not a teenager anymore. We're really moving on and we're moving forward with our next steps. And I didn't want it to come off as too much or too little. I just wanted the right amount, and coming up with that was a lot, like trying to find that balance. But I think we got it in this video, and I've had a lot of questions on it as well, as people have different views on what happened in it, what they think of it. And I was like, I love that. I love how it's a free for all. But I think my personal favorite part of the video is the ending. It's like very girl boss. Which I am all for.
Yeah, I was thinking of the ending as you were saying that, because I think to me what came through in the video is your agency in the story and what's happening. It's like you are always the one who's in charge, no matter what's going on. He might be pursuing you, but it's ultimately your decision as to how that night ends. Yeah. And so we see in the very last scene.
Yeah, it's that last scene actually was the glue of the whole thing. We wanted it all to revolve around how we were going to get to that scene at the end, because I thought it was not something people would really expect to see as well. And I think I get that a little bit from Taylor, in the sense of she likes to take curveballs and take directions people don't expect. And I think Megan Moroney is also an incredible artist doing that nowadays as well. And I don't know, I feel like especially here in Australia, I don't see too much of that. I think the videos coming out of Australian music are amazing, incredible, but I've never seen like the curveballs. And I was like, oh, I want to try a curveball because why not? What have I got to lose? And yeah, it's been cool to see the reaction for sure.
And I'm purposely not saying what happens in the last scene because people have to watch the video to find out. So there you go.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that this, the video was to move you on from things that you'd released in the past, and in fact, it was a couple of years since your previous music video had been made. But also, this song, "Whiskey Work That Way," is the first of a series of tracks that you're planning to define your musical journey in your 20s. Now, that sounds like it's a project you've actually planned and you have a vision for. Is that the case, that you've actually started to write some more songs in that vein?
Yeah. The songs that are coming out are also kind of a semi like triangle between them in a way as well. When they're all out, you'll be able to see they're all intertwined. They all connect in different ways within meaning. They all sound polar opposite though, which I'm a big fan of, especially when I find an artist I really love. I love artists who don't have songs that sound similar. I love total variety, but still you can hear it and be like, oh my gosh, that is so her. For example, I love Carter Faith. I think Carter Faith's music is exactly that. She is very much in her own style and her own lyricism path, etc. But when you put the whole discography together, you go, yeah, that's a Carter Faith record. And that's something that's been really big for me within my artistry, because at the end of the day, I want to make music for me and I want to do music that I really love. And these three songs, chopping them down to three songs, that we recorded three, was big. I had no idea what 3 hours was going to do. And that took a whole probably couple good hours in Michael and Caleb's basement coming up with those three songs. But I think we chose the right ones and I'm really excited for everyone to hear the next two that come. Yeah, I'm really excited.
So when you're in your songwriting process, say when an idea pops into your head, is it more likely to be a lyric idea or a melodic idea?
I normally start with concepts, so what I'm going to kind of write about. Whether or not it stays as that, I have no idea. My brain likes to go on different rallies, especially when I'm writing on my own. But these three songs that I'm putting out are all co-writes, which I am excited about as well, because I've never really put out co-writes before. Most of my songs I've written on my own, about 80% of them in the past. So I've been obsessed with co-writing ever since I started doing it. I want to say start of last year. And I think it's difficult when it comes to being in a co-write room, in the sense of you got to mesh all these brains and come up with something all together. And sometimes it doesn't work and that's how it goes. But when I write on my own, I think it's fine for me to go on whatever rally I want to go on. But when I'm in a co-write, I'm like, okay, we're in the mode, we're writing, don't go on tangents, just stay what we're doing here. And then sometimes I'll spit out a tangent and it'll go, oh, yes, that's good. Or shut up, Briana.
But tangents can be good because it's just that idea of meandering through your creativity, I guess. But yes, if you're in a co-write, people have expectations of something getting done in the room.
100%.
So for you, does collaborating actually, do you think, open up different channels for you as a songwriter? Like, you're thinking that there are things that you would never normally have done on your own, ways of thinking about music or just different ideas in general?
Oh, 100%. Whiskey Worked That Way, for example. It was definitely like a whole concept I had the idea of that I brought to the table, but I would have never got that project if I wrote it on my own. I think it would have been a whole different outcome than it was writing with those three incredible people. I'm very lucky that all three of them are good friends of mine. So there were those tangents in that ride, and I think that's what kind of helped with the song. But it's different every co-write, and you never know. When you walk into that room, you never know what you're going to have by the time you walk out. It's very weird in that sense. I always struggle to think that way. Like, we're going in with nothing and we're leaving with something. It's weird. It's crazy.
And I suppose when you're writing on your own, you don't have that set intention of, I must get something out at the end of this session. It's actually just you, pottering. Pottering is probably the wrong word, but you have that freedom to just potter if you need to.
Yeah, and it could be a chorus I write. It could be a whole song. It could be a whole really bad song that I listened to in 2 days ago. Why did I even come up with this? But that's the beauty about writing on your own. I find it more as like a therapy thing where if I need to just do something for me, that's my first thing I go and do.
And the songs that you end up thinking, oh, why did I do this? Do you tend to look at them as a necessary way of clearing the path for the songs that will end up being something?
Yeah, I think going through all the cobwebs is what you got to do to get to the other side, right? I don't know if that's an actual quote, but we're going to roll with it.
Why
But
not?
you got to get through all the hard times to get to the end and get the good ones. And I think you can write 100 bad songs and one really good song.
Mm.
It's very, I find it very hard to get a very good song. For me, I'm very picky with my songwriting, especially um, because, like I've always said, songwriting is my number one thing. If I don't love the song, I'm not going to do anything with it, and it's going to sit there and dust up. And it's very important to me that either I connect with the song or I really, really just am proud of what I've come up with.
Mm. It sounds like you do think it's worth doing the 100 songs that aren't going to end up being anything to get that one great song.
Yes, I have a lot of songs sitting in, for example, my APRA song list of all the songs I've written because I registered them straight away because it's what you got to do. And I've looked through that list and I've gone, I don't even remember writing that one. What is this song? And I look on my voice memos and I'm like, yep, that's why I don't remember that one.
But yeah, I mean, I tend to adhere to the belief that no work is wasted when you're writing anything. It's like, it all comes out for a reason, usually just to clear the path for something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you mentioned Tyler Rodriguez towards the start of our chat. Have you two written together?
Yes, we've written a few times together. We always say we want to write more together, but Tyler and I are like joined by the hip in the sense of it's either going to be a co-write or it's going to be us going loopy together. We're very much siblings in a sense, and yeah, we have to be in work mode. We've figured out we can't write at one of our houses. We need to go and sit in a space like a studio or an office and write. We can't be in a casual spot of ours, otherwise we'll treat it really casually. So we have to find the time and the mindset, and there'll be time we sit down to write a song and then she'll be like, do you really feel like doing this? I'm like, nah. Do you just want to go get dinner? She'll be like, yeah. But then there's time where we're like, okay, grind, we need to grind.
Right. So have you released, I don't think you have released any collaborations with Tyler though, and I don't think she has hers with you.
No, but I think she has some in the works.
Oh, right.
But that's fair to say.
Well, I won't ask any further, but I will ask about you going to Gympie Music Buster in August because it is you and your band. Now, who is in the band?
So I'm taking up my sister Ashlyn, who plays bass for me and is an incredible vocalist and harmonizes amazingly. My best mate Jackson, who I mentioned before, my drummer Baxter, and maybe a few other little things. I'm hoping Michael is going to be in Australia for it. He is so up and down. He's like, yeah, I'll come. And then the next week he's like, oh, I don't know, mate. And I'm like, Michael, make up your mind. But if he's here, I'll get him to play some pedal steel for us for sure.
So you mentioned that you recorded another couple of songs in Nashville. So I'm guessing you are looking ahead to release dates. Are you also looking ahead to some more festivals, live shows?
Yes. We're doing the Lasso Country Music Festival in July. It's the first one. I'm very excited. Like very, very excited. It's coming up in a few weeks now, and I can't believe how fast that's come by. And then, yeah, hopefully a few more in the future, but I'm excited for the muster as always. But yeah, more songs, more festivals, more gigs. Yeah, I love this time of year. Festival season's my favorite.
The Lasso Festival, when it was announced, I was looking at it and I thought that is a very good location because it's sort of halfway between Brisbane and the Gold Coast. So people could go from either to be there, and because it's a day festival, you could hypothetically just go home afterwards.
Yeah, I think it's like a great location, and I'm a Logan girl, and it's a Logan festival, so it's really exciting to have our first country music festival in Logan. And the lineup, I'm honored to be on that lineup. It's an incredible lineup of future country music as well. I think it's definitely showing off some of the names that you'll see in lights in a few years, I reckon, for Australia. Zach and George, they just keep going up. Everyone on that list just keeps going up. I feel so honored to be on there.
Yeah, it is a really great lineup, and you included. So I'm sure people who are going will have a great time. I unfortunately cannot get there because I do not live in Queensland, but somewhat jealous of all the festivals Queenslanders are getting, because the new ones
Yeah,
also keep popping up in Queensland.
we're very lucky. I can't really complain.
Well, in the meantime, we have your single Whiskey Work That Way and the video, which I urge people to go and look at. And sounds like we'll have some new music from you in the not so distant future. In the meantime, it's been wonderful to talk to you, Brianna. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Thank you for having me. As always, I love chatting with you, and I can't wait to chat when the new songs come out.
I look forward to it.